We're going to do notes a little differently with this topic. We're going to do notes in a foldable. So you have been given a foldable. I want you to fold it along this line right here. So you're going to fold it hamburger style. And then at some point, if you have scissors available, you can do it now or you can do it in class. I want you to cut these two lines right here so that you form these three flaps. Don't cut through the foldable. So fold it in half, then cut these two parts right here so that you create your three flaps. What we are learning about today are the intercepts of a line. A line has two intercepts, or it can have two. Not every line has both. But an x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, and a y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so this is just like, this is the same idea as an interception in football. Okay, the line is the football. It's going its own way, it's minding its own business, and the y-axis comes and cuts it off. Cuts off the path of that line. That's the y-intercept. The line's minding its own business, and the x-axis cuts off the path of that line. That's where the line crosses the x-axis, where the line crosses the y-axis. So the x-intercept and the y-intercept are points. So for this line, if we look for the x-intercept, and I will often abbreviate it just because we're going to write it a lot, the x-intercept is right here. What are the coordinates of that point? The coordinates of that point are -3, 0. So the x-intercept of that line is -3, 0. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So we look here, it crosses the y-axis at this point right here. What are the coordinates of that point? 0, -2. So finding the x and y intercept from a graph are very easy. You look, you find where the line crosses the x-axis and where the line crosses the y-axis. Now, from a table, here I have a table of points. I could plot these points, okay? And they should form a straight line. I don't have to plot them, though, in order to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Look at the graph up here. I've left it where we can see it. If I have a point on the x-axis, what is true of every single point on the x-axis? What's its y-coordinate? What's the y-coordinate of every point on the x-axis? The y-coordinate is 0. So for an x-intercept, the y-coordinate is 0. Okay? Now, what about any point on the y-axis? What's true about any point on the y-axis? The x-coordinate of is 0, right? So for a y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. So for this table right here, how would I find the x-intercept? Well, we look at our rule for the x-intercept, or it's not really a rule, it's just what we know. For the x-intercept, the y-coordinate is 0. So we go down our y values, and we see that the point 6, 0 is on this line. 6, 0 is on the x-axis, so that is the x-intercept. What about the y-intercept? Where does this line cross the y-axis? Well, for a y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. So I go down and I see this point right here. The point 0, 3 is on the y-axis, so it is the y-intercept of this line. So when you're finding the x-intercept and y-intercept of a table, you're looking, or from a table, you're looking for where the x-coordinate and y-coordinate are 0. Just make sure you get them straight. For the x-intercept, y is 0, and for the y-intercept, x is 0. Now, what if they give me the equations of the lines? We haven't done a whole lot with linear equations yet, but we've talked about them a little bit. We looked at them in that situation with the fundraiser. Here is an equation of a line. Here is an equation of a line. How do I find the x and y intercept? Well, I'm going to use what I know about the x and y intercept, and I'm going to have to solve 2 problems. Okay, so these are really 2 problems each. When we find the x-intercept, what's true about every x-intercept? Y is 0, right? For the x-intercept, y is 0. So we're going to substitute 0 in for y, and we're going to solve for x. And we get an x value. So the x-intercept of this line is the point 3, 0. When y was 0, we got x was 3. Okay? Then we're going to do it again. We're going to find the y-intercept, but this time we're going to let x be 0 because anything on the y-axis has an x-coordinate of 0. So we're going to solve for y. We're going to let x be 0 since we're solving for the y-intercept. And we get a y value of -9. So the y-intercept of this line is the point 0, -9. So we found the 2 intercepts, the x-intercept and the y-intercept, but we had to solve 2 equations to do so. Okay, one more example here. This is a linear equation here. Its graph is a line. You'll notice this form is a little bit different from this form. We'll be talking about the differences between these two later, but we can still find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. The x-intercept, remember, the y-coordinate is 0 on anything on the x-axis. So we're going to plug in 0 for y, and we're going to solve for x. So I get x is 3. So the x-intercept of this line is the point 3, 0. Happens to be the same as this other one. And then the y-intercept, remember for the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. So we're going to plug in 0 for x. And we're going to solve for y. Notice here for this one, very important, this is minus y right here. We can't forget to bring that down. Divide both sides by -1, and y is -6. So the y-intercept of this line is 0, -6. Okay. I have done the left side, the flaps of the foldable. I want you to use these as an example, and I want you to find the x and y intercept of these 4 over here. Use these as an example, pause the video, then turn the video back on when you're done to make sure you did it correctly. Okay, so for the graph, I got an x-intercept of -1, 0, a y-intercept of 0, 1. For the table, I got an x-intercept of 2, 0, and a y-intercept of 0, -4. And then when I did my substitution and solving on the equations, the first equation, I got an x-intercept of 2, 0, and a y-intercept of 0, 8. And then an x-intercept of 4, 0, and a y-intercept of 0, -6 on the last one. Make any corrections. If you have any questions, ask them. And we will do some practice in class.